This week on ICN, the stories you should have heard but didn't. Obama signs executive order to create elite council of governors. Study confirms GMO corn damages your organs. World Health Organization swine flu pandemic tainted by apparent conflict of interest. Yahoo exposed for selling information to law enforcement. Those stories and more next on Informed Citizen News. Hello and welcome to ICN, Informed Citizen News, January 24th, 2010. 2 weeks ago, President Obama signed an executive order to establish a Council of Governors. The council will consist of 10 governors appointed by the President. Under the coordination of the Secretary of Defense, the council will be reviewing such matters as the use of the National Guard, Homeland Defense, and civil support activities. This elite group of governors further blurs the lines between federal and state. State autonomy and independence is a natural check on federal power. Being under the direction of the Secretary of Defense gives this council a clear militaristic mission. The order was signed January 11th of this year, and the link is available under our More Info section. In what is being described as the first ever and most comprehensive study of the effects of genetically modified foods on mammalian health, researchers have linked organ damage with consumption of 3 varieties of Monsanto's GM corn. In the report, scientists state, "We therefore conclude that our data strongly suggests that these GM maize varieties induce a state of hepatorenal toxicity. This can be due to the new pesticides present, specifically in each type of GM maize." In English, this means that these varieties of Monsanto's genetically modified corn damages the kidneys and livers of mammals. In their conclusion, they also stated, "These substances have never before been an integral part of the human or animal diet, and therefore, the health consequences for those who consume them, especially over long periods of time, are currently unknown." In their recommendation for continuing research, they claimed, "Our analysis highlights the kidneys and liver as particularly important on which to focus such research, as there was a clear negative impact on the function of these organs in rats consuming GM maize varieties for just 90 days. A federal jury ordered Bayer CropScience LP to pay about $2 million for losses sustained by 2 Missouri farmers when an experimental variety of rice the company was testing crossbred with their crops. The farmers said this is a huge victory, not only for us, but for every farmer in America who was harmed by Bayer's Liberty Link rice contamination. Farmers from Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi have filed more than 1,000 similar cases against Bayer since. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced in August 2006 that trace amounts of the genetically modified Liberty Link rice were found in U.S. long-grain rice stocks. While Bayer was testing their genetically modified seed, they contaminated more than 30% of U.S. rice lands. For more information on the food industry, ICN recommends checking out the documentary Food Inc. The link to the movie trailer is available under More Info in our video description section. You can watch it instantly at Netflix or purchase the documentary on Amazon for $10. On December 28, 2009, Larry King had Ron Paul, Ben Stein, and Sheila Jackson Lee on to discuss the attempted bombing of an airliner over Christmas. During the discussion, Ben Stein pulled out the anti-Semitic card on Ron Paul after Paul said they, the terrorists, hate us because we are occupiers. Name-calling is usually the last resort for someone who has no credible response. From a national security perspective, the question of why they want to kill Americans must be asked and debated. The U.S. has a military presence in over 130 countries and drawn-out armed conflicts in 2 Muslim countries. Ron Paul's hypothesis shows no signs of anti-Semitism as he consistently advocates bringing American troops home from all corners of the globe, not just from those countries that are opposed to the State of Israel. The U.S. is over $12 trillion in debt and spending almost $1 trillion each year to maintain foreign military engagements. Ben Stein's anti-Semitic accusation is commonly used by neoconservative preemptive strike believers to stifle debate. Contrary to election promises, President Obama is continuing the same foreign policy and military strategy as the previous president. and debate in Washington on the use of our military has withered away. The U.S. Army will double the value of emergency military equipment it stockpiles on Israeli soil, and Israel will be allowed to use the U.S. ordnance in the event of a military emergency. The report from U.S. Defense Weekly News said that an agreement reached between Washington and Jerusalem last month will bring the value of the military gear to $800 million. An American defense official told Defense News that the U.S.-Israeli agreement reflects the Obama administration's continued commitment to Israel's security. As a side note, the Obama administration has pledged over $800 million to the Palestinians. According to Swedish and Danish newspapers, World Health Organization scientists are suspected of accepting secret bribes from vaccine manufacturers to influence the UN organization's H1N1 pandemic declaration. JP Morgan estimates that profits for swine flu vaccine manufacturers soared to between $10 and $15 billion in 2009. The articles claim that many of the apparently impartial researchers the World Health Organization uses are paid by the companies that produce vaccines, and that there is strong lobbying behind the WHO resolution on mass vaccination. Personal bankruptcy filings hit 1.41 million last year, up 32% from 2008, according to the National Bankruptcy Research Center. It is the highest level of consumer bankruptcy filings since 2005, when new bankruptcy laws took effect that made it harder for people to walk away from debt. The pace shows no sign of slowing down as bankruptcy attorneys reported an increase in cases in December. The number of U.S. metropolitan areas with jobless rates above 15% increased in November. The Labor Department said 17 of 372 metropolitan areas surveyed suffered unemployment rates of at least 15% in November, up from 15 metro areas in October. These numbers are government calculated and do not include those who have exhausted unemployment, the underemployed, or those no longer looking for work. If all unemployed were counted, then the number would be well over 20% for the metro areas. Wired magazine reported that Yahoo isn't happy that a detailed menu of the spying services it provides law enforcement agencies has leaked onto the web. The 17-page guide describes Yahoo's data retention policies and the surveillance capabilities it can provide law enforcement, with a pricing list for these services. Someone provided a copy of the company's spying guide to the whistleblower site Cryptome. Cryptome also published lawful data interception guides for Cox Communications, SBC, Singular, Nextel, GTE, and other service providers. Yahoo's letter was sent within hours of the posting of Yahoo's compliance guide for law enforcement at Cryptome. In addition to copyright infringement, the letter accuses the site of revealing Yahoo's trade secrets and engaging in business interference. According to the letter, disclosure of its surveillance services would help criminals evade surveillance. Cryptome owner John Young has ignored Yahoo's deadline for removing the document. Thanks again for joining us. From all of us at Informed Citizen News, see you next time.